The teens will be with us in a moment, but first, let's see how 17-year-old Keith and 19-year-old James are doing today.
What I did was got into some trouble, messing with some stolen cars, which brought me in. I didn't care about my grades at all. I didn't turn in homework assignments, no studies, none of that. But then when I came here, either be get shot again, maybe lose my life the next time, or just go and ride it out and go to this place. If I want to stay successful, I know that I can't go to stand up on a corner no more.
Instead, James is now standing up for himself with the support of mentors at the school.
This is home for a lot of us kids. Some people just don't come here to go to school. Some of us come up here just to be around the teachers. As a family thing.
And there's one very special person who's been instrumental in turning his life around.
I wouldn't have did it without my grandma.
James feels he's on the right track now. He's in school, has a job, and he's thinking a lot about his future.
Oh my God, you know what you're doing. Good job. My next goal is to go to college for engineering.
What would have happened if you would have continued on the path you were on before?
It would have been one day down the line, I about would have been in the jail, still thinking to myself, and that's the message I'm trying to send out to everybody. Why do I have to take to go all the way there to do it?
James realizes he has to keep his eyes on the prize.
I gotta be successful.
This is nigga Jimmy Edwards playing soft music while my granddaughter go to this school. They sicking dogs on them kids, macing them kids, throwing them kids in handcuffs. This ain't nothing but boot camp going inside undercover, y'all. Then they got a couple of little cats that they done manipulated and socially engineered with some soft music. Who this nigga is? Listen.
Innovative Concept Academy. And joining me, James and Keith, the two young men you just heard from in the video. Thank you all for being with us here today.
Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, Judge Edwards, congratulations on the Innovative Concept Academy. When you first proposed this to the St. Louis School District, I'm sure people at first were not quite sure what to make of it, but you managed to get this whole school started in just a couple of months, and now you're approaching your first completed school year. How did things go?
We are very excited. As you know, we opened the last school year. We have had approximately 300 to 350 children to come through the doors of the Innovative Concept Academy. It is a wonderful collaboration. I would be remiss if I did not, at the very outset, thank those folks.
This nigga stuck on himself on the field.
The local St. Louis public school system. It's a wonderful collaboration with approximately 45 partners. And the result of all of that hard work are young men like Keith and James.
And Keith,
poverty pimp ass, you hear me? Manipulating these boys' circumstances, suggesting that they are the patricians who are disseminating the crumbs of their excellence to the unrefined, who are actually God's creation, and there is no respecter of persons.
The path to juvenile delinquency is the same. There are three pathways. The first pathway to delinquency is a lack of adult supervision. Usually that's the result of parents or psychological parents not being present in the home due to incarceration.
He's talking about psychological parents, but he tried to deny me the fact that I've been my son's daughter's granddaddy since he was murdered. My son was not my biological, but I raised him since he was 2. And I buried him and cared for him through life. Now he talking about psychological terms. I tell you, it's academics gone wild. No ethics in politics or anything. Just greatness and selfishness of a political and bureaucratic system that has left the pejorative term we for the single term me. You don't hear me though. West Side 8th grader in right middle talking about this stunner fake Jimmy.
Too much idle time, not enough supervision, and economic constraints. Does that sound like something that might have applied to you?
Yes, ma'am. I would do things.
They got these kids up here in uniforms and ties.
You know,
and they just, I don't know. All I can say is
think about
nothing.
What do we do next? How do we get some money?
Keith, would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, both of you have mentioned stolen cars. I know stolen cars is something that we hear a lot in the city of St. Louis. Is that something that just happens for fun, or is it an economic thing, or what's with the cars? Is that just part of filling the idle time?
You want to speak on this first?
Around the ages of 12 to about 18, throughout the city of St. Louis, the kids who do go out and steal cars find it fun around the time because maybe it's the experience, the excitement, the suspense, things like that. Knowing that you could get in trouble, things like that, it might be fun for them.
You know, what's interesting also, Debbie, is that the onset of delinquency occurs at about 12 years old. And Keith spoke to that. Most kids come into our system at 12 years old, and they're out about 15 and a half. So it's about a 3.5-year run where we expect children to be.
He acts like he has a calculated, methodical conclusion. You see, the thing about upper education, especially them Latins and Romans, is that it's only 99.99% to a certain degree of your academic certainty, whatever your academic specificity might be defined in the cum laude, magnum, summa, or high as you can go in the 4.0. You still better have a hole to hide in like Saddam, because you can't predict the weather. And you see, they make all these calculated conclusions about African American kids. What about them white kids blowing the brains out down there in Columbine? What about the Menendez brothers? This is a bunch of hogwash for those of you who are not informed about your own and letting somebody like people like these Benedict Arnolds, these Judases, these Cassius, this Brutus named Jimmy Edwards.
Your friends enjoy
freedom of speech.
I enjoy them in my own dreams and my own imagination. The problems with our children is that many of them don't have the ability to dream because they've not been educated. They haven't had the...
You got to have education to dream.
So I understand.
Dogs dream, nigga.
This equation.
You don't hear me. West Side 8th grader for life, 51, got some common sense around the fence of that education you call magnum cum laude.
Researching things. What was the general attitude of school, and did you go? Did you think it was important?
No, ma'am.
They are grilling these kids on cross-examination, suggesting inbred, inherent deviancy and delinquency. Well, the first word of delinquency came from a Greek who was an independent thinker and a satirical writer in the annals of Machiavelli. His name was Juvenal, and he had 16 balls, and that's what the rap genre got 16 of them for you, Edwards. Since you're talking about delinquency being an Afrocentric semantical expression in the etymological terms of words, this delinquency and juvenile is a Caucasoid cultural word from a Greek who dared to speak to the arrogancy of the Roman government, and they call that nigga juvenile, and he ain't from Magnolia down south round in that old Louisiana Purchase, Jimmy.
You want to get an education. You're talking about higher education now. So now you understand that knowledge is power? Is that kind of what happened to you?
I believed in that for a few years now, at a young age.
You hear me? So I'm going to put the bag off. This ain't nothing but poverty pimping and a city that's crushing its poor people and gentrifying this city. It's just a shame. It's a shame what the city of St. Louis is doing to its citizens. To hear these young men who are sitting here and to see this man who deems himself something higher than the human beings in whom he suggests he serve under the public oath of office of Article 7, Section 11. You don't hear me though. He's sitting there with his glasses tipped so perfect, and his head is shaved so clean, and his face is so clean, and he's sitting with perfect etiquette at the table. But let me tell you something. If he don't have some toilet paper when he go to the bathroom, trouble. You don't hear me unless he use his hand. And then he better find some soap and some water, because he'll find that the putrefaction of his feces, because he don't want to call it what it really is, his doo-doo, still stink like the rest of us. And it's just so sad. In the city of St. Louis, there's an oligarchy that's similar to what King Nebuchadnezzar said. I'd like for you politicians and you judges to go on over to the book of Daniel and begin to read in the 4th chapter and the 4th verse. And it said, Nebuchadnezzar was in my palace, flourishing in my palace, when God, good God Almighty, the God that sits high and look low, the God that said the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and the world and they that dwell therein. You don't hear me though. It's time for the system to recognize that we are one and in the same, and that with God, can you say God? Can you say God? I'm trying to get it out. Hold on just 1 minute. Can you say God? God. God. God rules and reigns in the affairs of men. He's the supernatural superintendent in all the affairs of men. The Bible declared in the book of Acts, in Him, can you say in Him? In Him we live and move and have our being. Jimmy Edwards breathe because God give him breath. Shame will breathe because God give him breath. Slave breathe because God gives breath. And let me tell you something. Not only do we give Slave and Edwards, good God Almighty, Glory Reed in the county, good God Almighty, but the Bible declares that God causes it to rain on the just and the unjust as well. He calls the sun to shine. let me tell you this here in the rhetorical voice of the patricians of Agapeus Mars Hill. This is called God's elemental grace. Don't you know oxygen belongs to God? Don't you know the lifeline, magnetic and electromagnetic energy belongs to God? Don't you know that the inertia belongs to God? Don't you know that the beginning and the ending and outside of the beginning and the ending, the infrastructure, the outer structure, and the eternal structure belongs to God?